All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this week's TeleTownHall. I am Subungali Cook, the Director of Business Development and Strategy within the Mayor's Office of Planning and Economic Development. As most of you tune in to these weekly town halls, you know that we have used this platform to share relevant in-time information, guidance, and resources each week to residents, businesses, and stakeholders and the like. This town hall is no different. Today our theme is procurement. And when we talk about procurement today, we're going to look at it from the lens of doing business here with the District of Columbia, but also federal opportunities and outside sources as well. Today, I am joined with some very special colleagues of mine here at the table and also on camera here. And I'd like to first start by introducing Assistant City Administrator Jay Melder to my right.
Thanks, Subungali. Hello, a pleasure to be on this week's TeleTown Hall for the Economic Recovery Team. My name's Jay Melder. I'm the Assistant City Administrator for Washington, D.C., and I have the great pleasure to work on behalf of Mayor Bowser and City Administrator Young to support all of our district agencies and functions in getting what they need to do their job and to serving district residents. And so really excited to talk today about district procurement. And when I think about district procurement, I think about two things. That's getting exactly what the district needs to do its job and to get it as much as we can from local DC businesses so we support the surrounding and our business community as well. So as everybody knows and as everybody is dealing with, the district government has been responding to COVID-19 since February, actually. Being told to take my mask off. I hope Dr. Nesbitt isn't watching. Since late February, we've been responding to this crisis. A large part of that has been putting the district in an emergency procurement posture, where we've had to go out and source the personal protective equipment, the medical surge and medical supplies equipment, the service contracts, and the labor that the district needed to be able to successfully respond and blunt the curve of coronavirus in the district. So we've worked really hard to be as transparent as possible about our procurement needs, about our procurement processes. We've worked extremely hard in engaging CBEs and local district business in that response and in that process, and I'm really happy to be joined and to work alongside George Shutter, our Chief Procurement Officer, who leads our amazing procurement office. They have been working literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week since this pandemic began to make sure that the district and our residents and our communities and businesses and visitors had exactly what they needed to stay safe during this emergency. So I want to turn to him for him to talk a little bit about what our process has been, what our process is going to look like going forward, and how we really intend to continue to work in partnership with the DC business community to make sure that our needs are met. George.
Thank you, Jay, very much. I do appreciate that. I'm George Shutter. I'm the Chief Procurement Officer of the District of Columbia, and very happy to be here, very happy to support the administration and our health department in this pandemic. It has been a professionally intense and fascinating period of time for us, certainly. I think, Jay, back at the end of February, or maybe it was the first weekend of March, getting that call of needing to acquire a quarantine site and negotiating that overnight and getting that in place so that we can support the needs of the city, the needs of the district. And since that time, working with you, working with our administration, working with the health department, the district businesses have really come through to support the needs that we've had in this pandemic. And from the get-go, from hotels to other needs that we've had, it's been it's certainly been intense, and it's been good. I'm definitely proud of our district businesses being able to come together from coffee roasters to distillers to be able to provide sanitizer, to companies that have been able to pivot to providing PPE, to companies that have figured out how to get the NPs and the Ps of the testing supplies that we need, and bringing them to our district in a timely period has been fantastic.
Yeah. And something to see, too, how fluid and dynamic our local business community was in responding to those needs. I know that the OCP team did a lot of work recognizing that, oh, listen, our business community is going to respond. They're going to show up. And we did a lot of work building out a vendor relations team at OCP, unlike we've had previously, because we were doing so much business and doing so many transactions, and seeing our local business come to us saying, hey, we think we've got what you need, or we can get it. And that was really amazing to see the businesses kind of transform into a new model. And I think they did a lot for us, George. I think that is.
Yeah, that's totally true. We have over the years done a good job of having an emergency operations center and being able to support emergencies. But in COVID here, being able to bring those requirements through, being able to work with our CBEs, being able to work with our small businesses to meet those needs have been really fantastic. The COVID site that we've had and the COVID procurement site, to be able to show those needs and be able to show the where we're going forward has been a positive thing as well. Something that I do want to think about as well going forward, Jay, as we move forward from COVID, as we're pivoting, is our ability and the new legislation in place to have, looking at our requirements going forward, of 50% of those needs with our small businesses in the district, and being able to focus to that and pivot to that as we go forward.
Thank you so much. I'd also like to introduce some of our other amazing colleagues that are on the line, and I'd like to start with Milton Goodman from the Department of Small and Local Business Development. Welcome, Milton.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Sabandra, and thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate that. Yes, I'm Milton Goodman, the program manager for the District of Columbia's Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We're housed under the Department of Small and Local Business Development, where we render advisory services to small and mid-sized businesses who are seeking contracting opportunities in the federal space as well as the state and local government space. Very, very pleased to be here on this particular town hall. We'd love very much to talk about our program and make sure that you know the intricacies of the program when you come and talk to us. I know we got just a small amount of time here today, but I will give you as much as I can with respect to the program itself, and would love very much to get feedback from everyone.
Thank you so much, Milton. We're so glad to have you here to share a little bit more about what the PTAC program holds. There are lots of different wins and successes, so I'm excited that you are here with us today. Next, I would love to also introduce another one of our colleagues from an external entity, Steve Glaudet, the president and CEO of CNHED, Coalition for Nonprofit Housing and Economic Development. And I'd love for him to go ahead and take it away and also introduce his guests too.
Thank you, Sabangali. I want to thank Team DMPED for giving us this opportunity to talk about the DC Community Anchor Partnership. First of all, for those who may not know CNHED, we're a citywide association made up of 100 nonprofits and about 65 mission-driven for-profits who work on a range of community issues, including homelessness and affordable housing and workforce development. What we largely do is advocacy on behalf of those programs and the organizations and businesses that benefit from those programs. But the other thing that we do is focus on community solutions that others aren't addressing. All of us are increasingly aware of the racial disparities in the district and the fact that small businesses are critical to increasing individual incomes as well as building individual wealth. We also know that small, particularly minority businesses, are challenged with access to markets and capital, and that this lack of access prevents them from growing, hiring more people, and building individual and family wealth. The Community Anchor Partnership, and this is really kind of like a coming out party because we haven't done a lot of district-based public presentations about DCAP, so I really appreciate this opportunity. But the Community Anchor Partnership was uniquely designed to give minority businesses in the district access to our largest markets, which include our universities and health systems. Growth is almost entirely dependent on market access. Frankly, if you get the market, you can get the capital, you can get the staffing, but getting access to the market is one of the greatest challenges. So we designed DCAP to shift these institutions' procurements to minority, DC-based businesses. Currently, we're working with Georgetown University, Bridgepoint Hospital, UDC, Sibley Hopkins Hospital, Children's National Medical Center, and soon to be Kaiser Permanente. And to give you a sense of this landscape, there are 18 universities and hospitals in the district. And as of 2 years ago, when we collectively assessed their purchasing, they procured $2 billion annually. They purchase very little from any district-based businesses and a much smaller amount from DC-based minority businesses. DCAP does a number of things which assist these institutions and the minority business community in accessing these opportunities. We're working with these institutions to conduct procurement analysis of what they spend on what services, and we match them with minority businesses that have the capacity to provide those services. What we've discovered in this journey, and I think the institutions have as well, is that there are, in fact, minority businesses in D.C. who can provide a good number of these needed supplies and services. Part of the premise of DCAP is that there are advantages to using local suppliers, and they can provide high-quality services at competitive cost. COVID proved this point, particularly as supplier distribution was disrupted and local suppliers stepped in. Your colleague from the city administrator's office talked about how they engage local suppliers. DCAP did the same thing. As soon as COVID happened, we provided a pre-vetted list of local mask, gown, glove, biohazard cleaning, and catering services, and some of our institutions actually use them. Marissa, who I will introduce in a second, is one such institution representative to do this. This work has been slow but really steady. At the onset, the 4 original institutions that we work with had collectively procured $5 million from local minority businesses. As a result of the last year and a half work of DCAP, that number has grown to $15 million, a threefold increase in a relatively short period of time. The other thing that we've done, and this may be of interest to the audience, we've developed the most comprehensive database of minority businesses in the district. Right now, we're tracking about 5,500 minority businesses that are incorporated in the District of Columbia. And so if you're a minority business and you're listening to this, you probably are in our database, but just to be certain, you should reach out to us, make us aware of your business, let us include you in the database so we can correct you with opportunities. So it is our hope to ultimately recruit all 18 institutions. We're at 6 right now. We're in conversations with another 3 or 4, but our goal over time is to get all 18 universities and hospitals participating. So I'm delighted to introduce you to 2 of our anchor partners. The first is Marissa McKeever, who's from Sibley Hopkins Hospital. Marissa is Director of Government and Community Affairs We also have one of our DCAP businesses who I will introduce in a minute. And Marissa, one, can you tell us, our guest, what it was like for you to invite DCAP into Sibley, and what it's been like to work with, how has Sibley benefited from it, and what it's been like to work with some of our local minority businesses?
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that introduction, and thank you to DMPED and the entire team for the opportunity to be on the line today and just in this virtual experience. I'll say, as the head of government and community affairs at Sibley, it's been an extraordinary and incredible personal experience for me being a part of DCAP, but also for Sibley as an institution. It's been a great experience working with Steve and the team. It has been, we are at the beginning of the journey. Let me just start with that. We are at the beginning of this journey. Let me step back for a bit for folks who may not know as much about Sibley Hospital. We're out in Ward 3, and about 10 years ago, we integrated with Johns Hopkins Medicine. And as part of that integration, we've been really focused on recreating who we are as an institution in the district in terms of what is our community impact strategy. And what excites me the most in being at the center of that strategy is health equity. So we've been working a lot over the past few years. I joined Sibley about 5 years ago, and a big part of my role has been how are we working in and working with communities of color in D.C. And how are we showing up differently, not just for our patients, but also for residents, for entrepreneurs, for nonprofits. So we've been establishing different partnerships and programs, making investments and targeting under-resourced and underrepresented communities. So partnering, as being a part of DCAP, has been an extension of that community impact strategy. DCAP in particular, and working with Steve and the team, has given Sibley the bandwidth, the capacity to be able to start thinking about how we do business differently. DCAP brings expertise, services, and reach and connectivity to the table that we wouldn't have otherwise. What I'm also excited about is that this is a multi-year commitment. So when I say this is the beginning of the journey, it's because I'm excited about the bit that we've done thus far, but it was just the tip of the iceberg in terms of access to additional MBEs in the district and exposure to additional companies. So let me be a bit more specific about what some of the work that DCAP has done with and for us. One is they've expanded the capacity of our procurement team. So they're working one-on-one with us on how do we understand the gaps in our institution, what are some of the systems and policies that we need to develop in order to fully activate our inclusion priorities, and in a more realistic way, a practical way, we have support with identifying and vetting more Black-owned businesses. So just in the last year, we've had the privilege of working with 5 additional MBEs that were vetted and recommended by DCAP. And DCAP made that process smooth. They're bringing businesses to the table in a very timely way as well. I'll give you a couple of examples. Even right before COVID, Sibley was headed into the need for additional strategic communications and public relations support. Within a week, DCAP had provided a full suite of MBEs vetted and recommended. Similarly, during COVID, we wanted to procure thousands of cloth masks that we've been pushing out into communities of color over the past 100 days. Within the matter of, I think, 2 or 3 days, we had received a list of potential MBEs from DCAP who could produce cloth masks in the time that we needed and the production capacity that we needed. So I'm actually really excited to be able to share this opportunity today with another MBE that we've worked with at Sibley, Fog Hill, owned by Shanar Little. So this has been a great experience. I think we've got a lot ahead of us in terms of work to do. I'm excited about this pathway that Sibley is involved in terms of wealth building in communities of color.
Marissa, that's great. Listening to you implores me to lift up the fact that without someone like you advocating on the inside of these institutions DCAP would never have a chance to take root and do the work that we do. So I want to publicly thank you for your vision. You have built the will inside Sibley to be not just connected to DCAP, but connected to some of those broader initiatives that you described. One thing that is germane in this procurement work of penetrating new and large systems is that you have to have champions. And DCAP would not be as successful without champions like you and your colleagues in other institutions. It is now my pleasure to introduce just one of my favorite people in the world and one of our most successful DCAP businesses, but also just a person who embodies everything that all the work we do in government and community and corporate lifts up. Sinar Little is the founder and the owner of Fog Hill Maintenance Company, and I've listened to Sinar tell his story, and he never quite gets it right because he talks about his vision to help others and his vision to create employment opportunities and also just build his business strong in D.C. He's a Ward 7 resident. But Sinar really started by starting a summer basketball league in Ward 7 east of the river to actually stop some of his friends from being killed during the summer months where violence was at its peak. And then he realized that the basketball league took care of people during the summer, but he needed to create jobs for people to keep them safe during the winter. And it is that vision that gave birth to Fog Hill. Fog Hill is working on multiple of our institutions. Marissa has hired him at Sibley, but he's also worked at Georgetown and other places. So, Sinar, please tell them your story and the services that you provide and your view of how DCAP has helped you as a minority business in the district.
No problem, Will. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you shouting me out. You too, Marissa. And DMPED, thank you for having me on this phone call. So pretty much we started in 2014 as a strong facility maintenance company, and I've had the pleasure of actually working with Georgetown University as well, and being able to have access through the DCAP program to be able to access and navigate some of the bureaucracy that comes with trying to do business with the institutions. And it has allowed me the opportunity to be able to show that us as small businesses, small CBEs, MBEs, can also conduct services at the same or better level than some of our more industrial competitors who are a lot more bigger. I think that this has just been a great opportunity because it has allowed for me not to only just hire folks, it has not only just allowed for me to be able to give folks the opportunity, but it has also allowed for us to actually go in our neighborhoods and figure out ways that we can change it. You think that a contract only is okay. You just win a new contract, but it's more than that. You end up declining or decreasing recidivism. You end up, because access to employment it does something to the mindset. It changes some folks' ways of thinking. It changes some of the behavior. If folks don't have opportunity, then that's when, it leaves their mind idle to think about all different types of things, and some of those things being negative. I think I just drew a blank, Mrs. Aguilera. Is there something else that you want me to kind of go into as well?
I just, talk about your challenges, growing your business, how DCAP and access to these institutions has helped you envision a bigger scale and actually achieve some of that scale, which I know is part of your story.
Yeah. No, man, definitely. So, part of my vision has been to grow this company beyond where it is right now, and to be able to employ. I have a goal where I want to employ at least 300 residents, and that's my current goal at the moment. I know DCAP has played a huge part of that because it has pretty much opened the doorway to some of the institutions, like I said, that I would have never been able to walk in, or it would have been a lot of, like I said, bureaucracy just trying to get into who my end users are. And they have allowed for that, or massage that whole platform to be able to allow me to walk in the door and feel confident that I can go in there and I can sell myself and sell my company's skill set and market us in a way where we can still go and perform at a very high level. The story of Fall Kill just comes completely out of Ward 7. It comes out of me actually coming home from college, and like Mr. Barney said, I started a basketball tournament, but it wasn't just about basketball. It was more about the fact of every person that played in that basketball tournament. In order to play, you had to go and you had to be a part of either some type of educational alternative program or some type of workforce alternative program in order to play in the program. In order to play inside the tournament. And everybody who came in there and did that, what I've noticed that, once that time was over, the season was over, folks didn't have nothing to do. And a lot of times, the next part to getting, okay, we have you trained now, we have you inside of educational outlet now, what next can happen? And the next thing really is employment. And and not just only employment, but giving folks being able to have them access to livable wages that can produce, but I kind of head them right in the way of a career pathway. When I hire somebody and they go through our training, they get their Fall Kill Green certificate, that's just the beginning of the journey. Once they go through that, the next step actually is they're already thinking, how do we become building managers? And the reason why I say building managers is because by us having a platform, we have plumbing in-house, we have other facilities, services in-house, what happens is that person comes through the door, as they may come through the door as a janitor, when they come through the door as a janitor, they may walk out and may be able to go somewhere else, but they now have more marketable skills along with more certification. If you don't mind me mentioning it, I'll also say, like up at Sibley, we had a meeting up Sibley. We found out that we didn't have the EQUA training, and as we didn't have the EQUA training, after we had that meeting, I made sure that every person inside of my organization was EQUA certified. Why? Because we will now walk back in another hospital and that not be able to be the case. And Marissa's laughing, but yeah, so.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Shanar, for sharing your story. And Marissa, we're delighted that you were here. Thank you, Steve, for introducing them. I did want to mention once again, the DCAP program is one of the programs that obviously the administration is constantly thinking about. How do we create equitable opportunities for our minority-owned businesses and our women-owned businesses here? And this is one of those examples as we think about procurement and opportunity externally about how we support those local businesses here in the city. So thank you again, Steve, for being here and being a part of the panel along with Sibley Hospital. And Shanar, we certainly appreciate you being here. Please stay on the line as we know that there'll be additional questions and things like that for folks who may want to ask.
Sabangli.
Yes.
I wanted to say one thing that I was remiss in my introduction, and I know I would get a text later, and that was to mention that DMPED is DCAP's co-convener. I actually thought I heard you say that in your opening remarks, and then I replayed the tapes. I think it's really important to lift up the fact that DMPED co-convenes DCAP with CNHED. And the reason it's so important to mention that is because this effort is part of the city's 5-year economic strategy, which DMPED is responsible for developing. And from the very beginning, DMPED embraced the idea of supporting the institutions we work with as well as the businesses by having it integrated into the city's efforts. So DCAP is actually co-convened by DMPED and CNHED. I think it's important for the audience to know that. And one last thing, very quickly, this work is extremely disciplined work. It is scientific work. This is not just about getting procurements and hunting for businesses to meet them. We work with a team of consultants within each institution and really develop an individual strategy for Hopkins and Georgetown, for Sibley Hopkins and Georgetown and Children's that really match both their structure, processes, policy, and culture. That's the only way this work sustains itself, and it's the only way that 5 years we'll look down the road and see a much larger increase in the business that transpires between these institutions and the MBE community. Sorry, Sabangli, I needed to get that in.
No worries. That's not a problem at all. Thank you for that. I did want to also remind everyone that is listening in to please press 0 if you'd like to be placed in queue so that you can ask your questions to the audience, to our guest here. We did just finish hearing a presentation about the DCAP program, but what I'd like to do is actually send it back over to Director Shutter to talk a little bit more about procurement and opportunities, initiatives, and things that OCP are thinking about, the work that they're doing, initiatives that are being planned, and the work that's taking place on that side of the house. So, Director Shutter, I'd like to send it back over to you for you to share some of the things that are happening in your agency.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate
Absolutely.
that. And I absolutely want to thank industry in the district for really stepping up over this emergency. It's really been amazing. And I did want to share with the audience that as we've moved forward, we do still have a monthly seminar of how to do business with the district, as well as how to obtain a DC supply schedule that we do monthly, and we are doing that virtually now. So if audience is able to go to ocp.dc.gov for our monthly seminar on doing business with the district, as well as a separate course on how to obtain a DC supply schedule. And this is certainly one mechanism that the district will look to engage with industry. You have to be a district business. You have to meet the certification requirements as a district resident-owned business in order to be a certified business enterprise in the district. And our district laws and our focus is certainly on ensuring that we're able to do business with district businesses. I just wanted to make sure that our audience knew that both those courses are online. We'll be doing them this month, and not a need to come in physically to do them.
Okay. Fantastic. Assistant City Administrator Melder, did you also have anything that you'd like to add or share?
I was thinking about Shinar talking about change, and I it reminded me of something that Mayor Bowser tells us all the time, that no one wants to be in this pandemic. No one wanted this to happen, and though we're here, and I think it, while it calls us to act responsibly and respond in a very serious way to a very serious risk, it gives us an opportunity to think about how we can do things differently and shape our processes and our public policies differently to support our community differently. And I think that from the procurement angle, it's always about thinking, one, how do we meet the requirements of the district, but how do we use district businesses in order to do that? And I think what George and OCP are doing when we think about our new requirement to include 50% of CBE for non-emergency procurements, that's going to be a really big opportunity for the district to get its needs met and continue this cycle of reinvestment in itself. One small example of that, Marissa talking about supplying cloth masks to community. We purchased a lot of PPE in the district, thinking that we were going to have this huge medical surge to respond to. Thankfully, we haven't had to go into any of that surge capacity yet, and hopefully we don't have to, and thanks to hospitals like Sibley for being able to respond to that as well. But when we went into phase one, the mayor wanted us to support phase one businesses with PPE, with hand sanitizer, with the cleaning materials that we had stored up for that mission to be able to support district businesses in reopening in the ways that they could under the mayor's order. And in many cases, and maybe most cases, the products that we were delivering for free to those bids and main streets to distribute to district businesses were provided by district businesses. So it was a great synergy in how public procurement and local industry was able to support itself and change rapidly to the information on the ground. To we no longer had to respond to a health crisis. Now it's responding to an economic crisis using the same materials. So that's a small example, but I think one that I think about often in this pandemic.
Yeah. No, that's helpful. That's helpful. I'd like to take a moment now just to once again remind everyone, press 0 if you'd like to be in the queue for if you have a question for our panel. But I'd like to pivot last to Milton Goodman from our Department of Small and Local Business Development so that he can share a little bit more information about procurement opportunities from a federal perspective and the work that they do there. And then we'll begin to open it up for questions. Milton?
Thank you again, Sabonglia. And again, I didn't say it before, I really appreciate DMPED having me on the panel this afternoon. For sure, the DCP TAC is here for the district to render to district-based businesses personalized counseling as well as competitive insight navigating the government procurement process successfully. And how we do that, obviously, is through one-on-one counseling. We do a tremendous amount of market research and assisting our clients with their business plans, as well as offering up certification assistance. We definitely would encourage you, if you're not already, to be a certified business enterprise here in the District of Columbia, or CBE. We encourage you to go through that process at DSLBD, and your next stop, realistically, should be the PTAC, because it's only natural from a small business perspective to really go to the next step once you become certified as a CBE and you're eligible for preference points. Now you want to position yourself as best as possible to do business in both the District of Columbia government as well as the federal government. Now, it's not difficult at all to become a client of the PTAC. The only thing you have to do is be properly registered with the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. And we want to make sure that when you come to us, you do have a plan. You may not have a completed plan, but you got a direction as to which way you want to go. And you have written it down in some way, form, or fashion. Have to have been around for at least about 6 months to a year under your company banner, okay? We encourage you to come to us in that particular fashion. You're registered with a DUNS number, and you really know what a contract looks like, either on the commercial side of the house or the government side of the house. So if you can answer yes to those particular questions, you can become a PTAC client without a problem at all. And when you come to us, and you come to us with your plan, I have some excellent counselors that will sit down, along with myself. We'll sit down and we'll do an assessment of what your business is all about. Now, when you come to us with your plan, it may not be the direction that we would encourage you to go based on your core competencies and based on the strength that you show us in the way of past performance. If you don't have any past performance and you're just starting out, while we do not encourage pre-ventures or startups to really become clients of ours, we definitely will not turn you away. We will assign you with some homework strategy, and then you can come back and then be ready to receive the information that we actually have to offer. Now, the PTAC also gets involved in pre- and post-contract award. In the event that you do win a contract, there's always activity for work breakdown structure and things of that particular nature, and you want to make sure that you are ready when you meet your customer in that particular posture. But even prior to winning the award, you got to go through the solicitation process. We will help you with proposal development. We will not do the proposal for you, but we will definitely walk through the steps as far as the team approach is concerned, as well as position you for subcontracting opportunities. Should you just be coming in and you don't have a prime contract of your own, we would assist you and work with you and see whether or not we can properly position you to obtain subcontracts within either in the district or on the federal government side. We offer assistance in the various certifications. While we do have a CBE team at DSLBD, there are other certifications that will take place on the federal side of the house that we can assist you with. So there's a complete array of services and training that you can take advantage of with the PTAC. We're here as a tool to support DC-based businesses, as well as put you in the right position, if you will, to pursue DC contracts, DC opportunities, as well as federal government opportunities. We were very, very fortunate to connect with Steve Glaudet and CNHED in working the DC Anchor Partnership. It made clearly a win-win-win situation for us, because obviously when the Anchor Partnership came into play, it quickly gave access to minority businesses when it came to other business opportunities that they realistically were not privy to. So all of a sudden, the Anchor Partnership kind of laid these opportunities out, but then even more so when the awards took place and they were successful, it put a real strong value proposition moving forward with the Anchor Partnership. And of course, that third win, when that customer receives quality expertise at what they define as quality pricing, and quality pricing at that given point in time is, you're getting a great job, you're doing a great job, but just you're not paying as much as you would normally pay if you were to go to another organization like maybe a group purchasing organization in the medical environment, or a regional purchasing coalition or something along that particular line. But you're getting these quality prices from a diverse group and a diverse talent. We try to make sure that we can zero in on our client base to be ready when these requirements do come across the board. And we're just grateful that the DCAP looked at the PTAC in order to pursue these particular requirements, and we were just fortunate to be in position. And we've had some great success stories. So in the event that you're looking to really take advantage of the vehicles and the programs that are available for small businesses coming out of DSLBD, please look at the PTAC when you are looking to pursue contracting opportunities in government. And obviously, DMPED has placed us in the position with CNHED to really be a successful entity coming out of the District of Columbia government. So if you got any additional questions as to how to really zero in on becoming clients of the PTAC, whereas we have somewhere along the line of about 1,100 clients in our repository currently right about now. We're doing a challenging job, if you will, to make sure that we can support them. And we're about 7 years old under DSLBD currently at this given point in time. And we're moving forward from a successful perspective. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Milton. I think what I heard was that if you are a DC-based business, if you are a local business here in the district and you are interested in procurement opportunities and becoming a vendor with the federal government, that they need to talk to you, Milton, over at DSLBD. Is that what I just heard?
Absolutely. Especially if you're looking for procurement vehicles, you don't quite understand how to obtain them.
Yes, sir.
From the Small Business Administration. We work very closely in assisting you in acquiring those particular vehicles. If you're interested to understand the scheduling process, i.e. the GSA schedule, the MOBIS schedule, professional services schedule that's out under the General Services Administration, we welcome the opportunity to support you in that particular effort. We just make sure that you are ready to receive the information that we have to offer, and we will help you along the way. But if you're interested in doing business, DC-based businesses is what we are interested in because the PTAC is geographically located across the continental U.S. They have one in Northern Virginia, and they also have another PTAC in Maryland. We respectfully focus on DC-based businesses. So if you're interested, come and talk to us. We can work with you in any aspect of business growth and acceleration.
Thank you for flagging that, Milton.
If I could just ask that district-based business, DC business too.
Exactly, DC-based businesses. So with that, before I open it up, because we have some folks that are anxious to ask some questions, I did want to ask all of our guests, Milton, Steve, Director Shutter, once again, for everyone, make sure you have a pen or a pencil so that you can write this down. How do they get in contact with you guys? Milton, can you share, is there an email address that DSLBG has to reach out to PTAC? Steve, same question for you as well, and Director Shutter.
Absolutely. If you want to get a hold of the PTAC, you can call me directly if you want. I can be reached at our number of 202-727-3900. And my email address is milton.goodman@dc.gov.
All right. Thank you, Milton. We
have an intake coordinator. Her name is Michelle Harris, and she can be contacted at the exact same number if you can't get a hold of me. Her email address is Michelle Harris and the number 2 at dc.gov.
Thank you, Milton. We appreciate it. Steve, how do folks get involved with DCAP?
They can go to our website to get information, www.cnhed.org. That's www.cnhed.org. Or just call, and we'll get a message and provide information. 202-745-0902, extension 2. And we'll, even in this remote moment that we're in, we'll get electronic messages about the inquiries, and we'll send out information kits as well as follow up with a personal phone call.
Fantastic. Thank you. Director Shutter?
There are a number of ways that I would love to be able to, for anybody to get in touch with OCP and get in touch with the DC government. Certainly at ocp.dc.gov. We have a number of resources there, including our ombudsman that you can set up an individual appointment with. We have our transparency site where individuals are able to see contracts that are awarded by the district, actual contracts, payments from the district, opportunities from the district, forecasts from the district. And certainly also able to email ocp@dc.gov, as well as call directly to OCP directly at 202-727-0252. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this one last thing before we open up the calls, is that I know that there was also some conversation about workforce and hiring. And as we think about these opportunities and how we help our local businesses increase their own book of business and their own clientele, we also have to think about, as you grow, you are also identifying and looking for talent. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we do have a Department of Employment Services that can help businesses who are looking to hire talent. You can list your employment opportunities or even identify talent through that department. They have a DC Network website. It is www.dcnetwork.org, where you can place your position descriptions to begin looking for talent here in DC. So there is another resource here if you're trying to identify talent and you're trying to grow your business. This is a great place to start by working with the Department of Employment Services to also put in your hiring needs there as well. With that, I'd like to go ahead and remind once again everybody to press 0 if you'd like to be in the queue so that we can call you so that you're able to ask a question of the panelists here that we have. And so I'd like to start with Jennifer from Ward 7. I think you had a question about DCAP and the small business minority list. Jennifer?
Yes, hi, good afternoon.
Hi, Jennifer.
I was actually asked, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. I was actually asking I hear the acronym DCAP. I think I'm saying it correctly. It's kind of hard to hear sometimes when you're on these calls, but can you tell me what that stands for? And then there's a list, a minority business list or small business list that you mentioned. And so how does one get on that list?
Steve, can you take that question?
Yep. DCAP is the acronym for the DC Community Anchor Partnership. And just to demystify the anchor aspect of it, large institutions that exist in cities are what are referred to in industry terms as anchor institutions. And they're generally considered anchor institutions because they're very large. They hire a lot of people. They provide large-scale services, and they transact large-scale businesses. If you were to think of a shopping center, just to clarify, every shopping center has an anchor business. Like in most shopping centers, it's the grocery store. And then the nail shops and the barber shops are the other things that the anchor, and so if you think citywide, our universities and hospitals are anchor institutions, and that's why it has the name DC Community Anchor Partnership. If you email me at what's on our website for DCAP, which is dcap@cnhed.org, we will give you your business information to our business vetting consultants. We have a team of amazing African-American women who used to do minority supplier work for Verizon. They help Verizon meet their minority supplier goals. They work with us in vetting businesses. And what they will do is literally call you, interview you, learn your business, and put you in our database. So that way, when a procurement becomes available that matches your background, they will tee you up for potential bids for those procurements.
Thank you, Steve. Next call on the line is Miles Gray from Brands Build Company. And I think you also had a question. Miles, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for taking the question. So my name is Miles Gray. My company, Brands Build Culture, DC, used to handle all the large activations for Washington, D.C. down in South by Southwest. This is obviously pre-COVID. So once we, saw, COVID happen, we knew that we would have to kind of pivot and change our business strategy. And the first thing that kind of resonated with us was the fact that a lot of schools were saying that they would not be able to reopen due to the cost of sanitizers and the lack of hand sanitizers, surface sanitizers, that sort of thing. So what we did was we assembled a team of mostly Howard graduates, Howard Law, an epidemiologist from Howard who's at Yale now as a professor, some MBAs, pharmacists, foot and ankle, dentistry, as well as some wealth managers, and assembled a team of people. And then we started to attack the problem of what's going on in the hand sanitizer space, which is as you're starting to see these recalls, some of these people are putting in methanol into their hand sanitizers. Some people are sourcing ethanol that's not a USP or what they call a food grade, and it's starting to be recalled in Canada. People who are using fuel grade or industrial products. So what we did was we sourced a sugarcane-based hand sanitizer that's gentler on the skin, and it's something that we are ethically and morally okay with actually giving to children, spraying on children's hands, that sort of thing. Because some of the products out here that are typically meant for fuel, for gasoline, shouldn't be sprayed on anybody, much less children. or the 66 million kids that are about to come to schools here in the next couple of months. So my question is, I've gone through PTAC, and Michelle Harris has been incredible in getting us in the system. Our CBE has been around for 4 years. We have all the certifications. We're waiting on our cage code for the federal procurement. But my question is, when you apply to something like PTAC or OCP and put yourself into the pool of people, how do you actually differentiate yourself, right? Because our system is one that shows, schools not only how to not get price gouged on the cost of the sanitizers, but how to bring in a better product, and then also how to reuse the dispensers and the sprayers so that we don't, add to, a lack of sustainability or increase, plastic waste. We show schools how to save money by utilizing their internal facilities maintenance staff to actually distribute sanitizer around the school the same way that they would liquid hand soaps. So how do you put yourself into a pool like that and not just get lumped in as just another hand sanitizer company, that sort of thing? How do you get somebody to actually take a deep look and have a conversation with you about what you offer versus just looking up a code or NIGP code or, that sort of thing, if that makes any sense?
It makes a lot of sense. The main thing that you need to make sure you are totally aware of, we're in some real challenging times, and when pivoting takes place, you'd be surprised what comes out of your skill set. So after you've gone through the process, and I'm glad to hear that you're working well with Michelle from a process perspective, you've got everything in order relative to proper notoriety that your company does. You're carrying various codes. You're carrying various NIGP codes. Now it's time to sit down with a counselor or myself to really see exactly, what you have, and you sounded as if though you know the direction that you want to go relative to the PPEs. So, that's a good thing. But when you sit down with a counselor, we need to make sure we understand your clear discriminators as it relates to your product and services, and make no mistake about it. I'm going to query you with respect to who you know. This is not the first time at the rodeo for you. Who do you know, so that we can take an assessment of who you need to be talking to, and who will, just like Steve has given a lot of small businesses access in the educational institutions and medical institutions because of DCAP. I want to find out who you know so that we can replenish your relationships so we can move forward with your pivoting process. So to take you out of the crowd, so to speak, and have you as an entity with a discriminator, that's the goal. Because you're right, to sit in the pile and not have the ability to come out of that pile, it's a stalemate for you. So I would encourage you to get with one of my counselors or myself. Again, you can call me and we can have further conversation on this, or you can email me, and then the next move for us is to connect you with a counselor to see exactly what ingredients you have in the base of your company.
Thank you, Milton. Steve, it looks like you were nodding as well. Did you have any comments or thoughts for Miles?
Yeah, real quick, and it's echoing what Milton said. And one of the things that it's important to understand is that so much of procurement is about relationship and familiarity. So I think it was a really astute question for the business owner to say, how do I separate myself from the pack? Part of what we're trying to chip away at with this work that Milton does and that we and others do is to break that chain of familiarity. I mean, procurement is such an intriguing dynamic, and a lot of times people don't look at it from the procurement person's point of view. But if I'm the procurement person at a hospital, I just care whether there are gloves in the drawer when the surgeon goes to perform surgery, and that those gloves don't cost me 10% more than they did last year. But layered on top of that is the notion that if I've been dealing with a supplier year after year after year, that's a box I can easily check. We're trying to disrupt that in a healthy way and give some other people an opportunity. And it really does come down to relationships. So if that gentleman were to become part of our database, which is 5,500 businesses, I would encourage him to reach out, just as Milton said, to reach out to him. I would encourage him to reach out to us and let our vetting consultants get to know him better, so that we would have him at the forefront of opportunities that we identify.
Thank you, Steve. I am going to our last question. We have Ayanna Howard on the line, and this was a question for Milton. She wanted to know, Ayanna, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi there. Would you like to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, well, actually, my question was answered. My name is Ayanna, and I am calling from Earl Howard Studios, a longtime small business in the District of Columbia. And I really just wanted clarity on the DCAP. I didn't understand clearly what that was either, but I did get that from the first caller, and I think that the email you gave us was the DCAP at, is it cnhed.org?
Correct.
That's correct. It's DCAP at cnhed.org.
Okay. Yeah, that was my question.
All right. Thank you so much, Ayanna, for joining us today. With that, I would like to close out and allow my esteemed colleagues here, Assistant City Administrator Melder and Director Shutter, if you guys had any final remarks.
No, it's just been a wonderful conversation, and the district's still doing business and still meeting requirements, and still want to do that with DC businesses and DC business owners.
I really thank you for this opportunity, and opportunity to thank our DC businesses for really stepping up in this pandemic and making it happen, and that's been great.
Absolutely.
You know, as we transition from COVID to other things, certainly if there are businesses in the district or other businesses that have interest in supporting district needs, vendor.relations@dc.gov is an email site that businesses are able to send ideas to for support, and we look at that often. Also, certainly our coronavirus.dc.gov website is a place that we can go to, and I certainly encourage again businesses that are interested in doing business with the district to go to ocp.dc.gov. We've got our monthly training for any business that's interested, as well as our monthly trainings around DC supply schedules that we'd love to have you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Shutter. Also, I would like to thank my other partners here, Steve Glaudet from CNHED, Marissa McKeever, and also Shanar Little. We thank you for being here, and Milton Goodman from DSLBD. Did you guys have any final remarks?
Yeah, I just want to say that the small business community, the minority business community in D.C., I didn't know this until we began to do this work. I didn't know it with the depth that I appreciate it now. It's really fortunate to have a lot of supports. A deputy mayor's office that understands the value as well as the challenges. An array of agencies that include DSLBD, where PTAC is. An external stakeholder community that includes a lot of these large, influential institutions, and a host of other supports. This work enjoys champions on the city council. Councilman Kenyon McDuffie is a huge champion of this work. And so I would say that even during these challenging times that we're facing, where businesses are having to pivot, as the gentleman said before, I think that there's a lot to be hopeful for. I don't think other cities have quite the same array of supports and opportunities. And as hard as the road may be, connect to some of these support systems wherever they may be, whether it's in the deputy mayor's office or DSLBD or with us, or even directly with some of these institutions, because there is a growing will as well as a growing appreciation for how small businesses might be the solution for a lot of community problems that we have historically tried to solve within government and other places.
Thank you, Steve.
I would second that. This is Marissa from Sibley, Johns Hopkins. I encourage all of those on the line to really connect with those supports that Steve just described. And speaking from an anchor institution perspective, I would also just encourage folks to just be patient with the process. I will say on behalf of Sibley and other anchors in D.C., when we come up from COVID and as we move into recovery, we are going to be, this whole experience is going to create a need for us to think about how we do business with small businesses, with minority-owned businesses, local businesses in particular. The flexibility that we've seen during this time, the nimbleness, the ability to pivot has been unlike any other. And so I can see even for our institution, we've had a number of conversations with MBEs in the last year, the last 2 years, and there's more work, there's more projects, there's more spend. And so practicing that patience, continuing to connect to those supports, and reaching back out to those institutions, particularly as we move into this next phase of COVID. We're all going to be thinking about things differently.
Absolutely.
Yes, and that I have, this is Milton. I just want to make sure that I let the audience know, in the event that you have questions, don't challenge your potential client with your questions. Utilize your resources. We are a tool for you to bounce your questions off to see exactly whether or not you're moving in the right direction. We don't have a problem talking to you on the phone and making certain that we can encourage you to move forward from your core competency perspective. So use the PTAC to ask the questions that you don't typically want to ask your customer, because when you touch base with your customer, you want to be business ready. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you so much, Milton, for your comments. So again, we are at the end of our program today, but I hope this information was helpful. Please, by all means, continue to visit the coronavirus.dc.gov website. There is a lot of information there around procurement opportunities, information that you've heard here today as well from our guests, internal and external, from OCP, from CNHEG. Thank you for being here. DSLBD, our guests from Sibley Hospital, and also our business from Mr. Little. I want to thank everyone for being here. Again, a reminder, please visit the coronavirus.dc.gov website for more information around procurement and all other opportunities as we continue to move through this experience that we are having at this time. Understand that this is a fluid opportunity for us to continue to think about how we move forward in supporting our local businesses, our minority-owned businesses, our women-owned businesses here in the city. So we'll continue to provide as much information as we can through these teletown halls and other convenings and conversations. So thank you so much for being here today.